to awaken him. How will he find us when he comes?
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate ourselves ever more perfectly to him, how will he find us?
Awake and ready.
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Friend, beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Great Master,
Great Master,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
Saints of all religions,
Saints of all religions,
we humbly bow before you.
we humbly bow before thee.
Bless and guide our lives.
Bless and guide our lives.
Help us to perceive your eternal presence
Help us to perceive your eternal presence
behind all of life's veils.
behind all of life's veils.
Help us to tune in to your love,
Help us to tune into your love,
your joy, your supernal blessings,
your supernal
and
blessings,
become your channels
and become your channel
to share your light in this world.
to share your light in this world.
Om. Peace. Good morning, friends. Get a seat. We're going to start with some music. Where has my love gone long are the nights, now that she's left me, dimmed my delights? Where is my love friend? Has she this way? Saw you her smile, ah, what did she say? Oh, has she here, my sweetheart, passed she here? Sweet was the promise when first we met, whispers of heaven made me forget heartaches and labors, earth's searing pain. Rest now, she said, you found love again. Ah, pass here, my sweetheart, passed she. Surely she lied not, heaven did shine, piercing the darkness, love that was mine. Could she not linger, must even she rise and depart like this on the sea? Ah, pass here, my sweetheart, passed she. Life's made of dreams, friend, dreams that must break, quickly dispersing when we awake. Strange that when love calls, memories stay, riding across the tides of our days. Ah, pass she here, my sweetheart, pass she. There by my bed
uplifted as you listen to these words on our affirmation for this week, peace of mind. Peace of mind is the result, not of money in the bank, but of prayer and meditation. The more one contacts God in meditation, the more he feels descending upon him a blanket, as it were, of inner peace, cooling his body, calming his restless impulses, and thrilling his nerves with ever new delight. Peace is like a weightless waterfall, washing away all worries and bestowing a new, glad sense of confidence. Peace of mind is his who knows that God is his only treasury. And now let's affirm together, first in a strong voice, awakening the conscious mind. From pools of inner silence.
From pools of inner silence.
I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace.
I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace.
From pools of inner silence.
From pools of inner silence.
I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace.
I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace.
And a little softer now with deeper focus. From pools of inner silence.
From pools of inner silence.
I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace.
I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace.
From pools of inner silence.
From pools of inner silence.
I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace.
I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace.
And now in a whisper, feel that you're bringing it into the subconscious mind, putting on a new positive record. From pools of inner silence. I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. From pools of inner silence. I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. And now silently, mentally broadcasting it from the spiritual eye, awakening the superconscious mind and implanting this prayer demand. From pools of inner silence, I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. From pools of inner silence, I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. And pray silently with me. All that I own is thine, Lord. Help me to know thee as the river of peace, running silently beneath the sands of my life's experiences. Om peace. Amen. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to old friends and new, and welcome to those joining us online. My name is Dharmadevi, and this is my husband Narayan. And I'm reading to you from Rays of the One Light, Weekly Commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. And this topic is the eternal now. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. When will I find God? Many devotees have asked this question. Because worldly goals require time usually for their fulfillment, we imagine time to be a factor on the spiritual path. And so it is, but only because we think it is. God is as much with us now as he will ever be. It is not he who needs to come to us. We need to come to him. And that process of coming is a matter of transforming our self-perception. In the Gospel of St. John chapter 4, Jesus Christ says, Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. There is a practical teaching in these words, apart from their statement that we have God already, and have only to realize that truth. Jesus is saying, lift up your eyes and look. To hold the eyes uplifted is the best position for meditation, for the seat of superconsciousness lies at a point midway between the eyebrows, in the frontal lobe of the brain, just behind that point. This point is known also as the Christ Center. By lifting up your eyes and concentrating there, you will find it easier to enter the state of ecstasy. That is why saints in every religion have often been observed during states of deep inner communion with their eyes uplifted, focused on the inner light, white, as Jesus said, all ready to harvest. The Bhagavad Gita goes further into this meditative teaching. In the 6th chapter it states, holding the spine firm, the neck and head erect and motionless, let the yogi focus his eyes at the starting place of the nose, the point between the eyebrows. Let not his gaze roam elsewhere. In meditation, tell yourself, I have him already. I am alive forever in the divine light. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om. Om. Om.
Good morning again, friends.
Good morning.
I want to share with you from Whispers from Eternity. If you're not familiar, this is Yogananda's book of prayer demands. And this one is, may the Niagara of my joys inundate all hearts. May the Niagara Falls of my heart's joy pour unceasingly upon all I meet. May that flooding power drown their difficulties. Let their melancholy then be calmed to contentment by moonbeams of my bliss. Oh, I will be a tornado of laughter, lifting up and destroying superstructures of sorrow, sweeping over endless miles of suffering egos. I will churn up and blow away the troubles from all hearts. In lightning flashes of my mirth, I will swiftly expose to view the panorama of thy beauty, so long obscured in the nocturnal darkness of unseeing, uncaring minds. Bless me, that by a single shaft of my light, the gathering gloom of ages nurtured in the dark corners of human minds be put to flight. Through thy grace, even one sudden flash of wisdom will dispel the accumulations of dark error, though it lasted countless millions of years. I thought this was such a beautiful whispers, and I was especially touched by that last line. Through thy grace, even one sudden flash of wisdom will dispel the accumulation of dark error, though it lasted countless millions of years. That's what I wanted to share today, is how Swami Sri Yukteswar said in the end of the Holy Science, many of you are familiar with his book, and in his way of wisdom, he shares that all is love, God is love, and that life is unstable. It's like a dewdrop on a leaf, but that one moment in the presence of a saint can be your raft over the ocean of delusion. So I wanted to talk about what is that one moment where we come into contact with a saint, or where we come into contact with some type of God perception in our daily lives. We know the story that Yogananda tells himself of meeting Sri Yukteswar, his guru, in Autobiography of a Yogi, and he was walking down that lane in Benares, and he just saw, it was just one moment where he saw this Christ-like sage. And just that one moment, it dispelled his doubt and his darkness, and it drew him like a magnet to his guru. So, there are times that in our lives that we have these moments, and I think it's important that we try to look out for them and be aware of their coming. And how do we do that? Well, at first it's coming back to that realization that all is God's love. There's a really funny, you might be familiar with Gary Larson from The Far Side. I enjoy his sense of humor. It's quite absurd. He has these little cartoons, and there's these two cavemen, and they're playing a game together, and they go, dang, tied again, and they both have their fists up, and it says rock, paper, scissors, before the invention of scissors and paper. So they keep tying. But there is that solitary rock, of God's presence that is underneath everything. We see of course, the opposite of that. Right now the World Cup's going on, and Ben, I appreciate you being here because I would like to be watching a game too. The opposite is like people going crazy, right, over the sports team sport. But it's not that we're to shun, right, and turn away the joys of life. One of the keys is to, like, for example, in sports, like with soccer, to enjoy things, but to enjoy them with the joy of God. To allow them to remind us of that, again, that eternal now. Isn't that the reading today? Yeah, the eternal now. It is the eternal presence of God that is right here, right now. It's the difference between living for the moment, right? We hear this expression with young people. Someone told me I'm getting to be an old fogey. There's something called YOLO, which is you only live once, right? That's the world's living for the moment, right? There was a Pepsi sign, like, live for the moment. Oh yeah, like, Pepsi's going to do it for you. versus living in the moment, right? And that living in the moment then takes us to the eternal moment. Yogananda said in his poem Samadhi, that I everywhere, that state of consciousness. A friend of ours wanted to learn to meditate recently. He started practicing meditation, and one of the things that he said was just that. He said, I want to become more present. Well, meditation helped me become more present. And I said, absolutely, it'll help you become more present. And it'll also take you to that eternal presence of God. But what if we don't feel that? Because, of course, we have times where we don't always feel that eternal presence of God. And we feel like Master said, we get buffeted, and we feel like we're shattered, right? We're whipsawed by life's, just all the duality of life, all the constant change. I think, too, it's important that when we go through pain and suffering, because all of us go through some type of heartache, whether it's loved ones dying, whether it's whatever it might be, that even that the pain and suffering that we go through can be a reminder of God's eternal love. It doesn't feel like it in the moment. It's like when we pull off a Band-Aid, it hurts at first, but the divine doctor is trying to perform the ultimate surgery, and that's the healing and the transmutation of our little self into the great self of God. Even, I remember when I had one of these eternal moments. First time I went on pilgrimage to India, I had the great fortune of meeting Hare Krishna Ghosh. Hare Krishna was Master's nephew. And when he was a baby, before Master left, he had actually given him one of these astrological bangles. And when Master went back to India in 1935, Hare Krishna was then like 15 or 16. And he said, this boy no longer needs this bangle, and he took it from him. But that's an aside story. But when I met Hare Krishna, he was very close to leaving the body. He wasn't ill. You could just tell his energy was very withdrawn. And normally he would share stories and talk about Master. This was a pilgrimage to Calcutta, to Yogananda's home there at 4 Garpar Road. And I remember walking up the stairs and Hare Krishna was just sitting there. And he just turned and looked at me. And it was like it was just like it was that moment. One moment in the presence of a saint can be your raft over the ocean of delusion. When Master met Sri Yukteswar, he said, instantly and anciently, I recognize that face, those eyes. That's why it's the one moment in the presence of a saint. If we can be open to them, because they're, a true saint, a true guru, there's no one home. Not that they're checked out, not that they're space cadets. We're more than space cadets, right? There's no filter, there's no obfuscation of that light. It's just coming through. So if we can be open to that light, one moment in their presence can change us. That's what Swamiji was saying in the reading. It's the transformation of our self-perception. So it's when we can see, when we can look into the eyes of the saint and open ourselves in that way, that we can receive their light. And it does have the power to change us. And that's why we have these pictures of the masters. It's not, right, idol worship, it's the ideal that they represent. And that deeper ideal is the light of God, is the love of God, is the joy of God. There was a story of a saint who saw Sadashiva, and she was a woman in that incarnation, and she saw Sadashiva just for a moment, who was this great saint, 400 years or so ago in southern India. And she said that just seeing Sadashiva's eyes, it rekindled that flame of bliss in her own soul. And it was said that Sadashiva came to that woman just for that one look, just for that one moment, because she was his devotee, she was one of his, and her spiritual fire was starting to go out, and he came back just to give her just that. He didn't say anything. That's why some saints in India are munis, right? They hold silence, because what we really draw from the saints isn't their outer teaching or their outer counsel, it's their subtle spiritual magnetism. And so if we can open ourselves to them with love, with reverence, with a spirit of trust, then they too can flood in, because everyone can get on this grand bus of self-realization. The masters are just extending their hands. It's really for us to take their hand and open our hearts to them, so that we too can melt into eternity and I, one united ray, is the way Master put it. And we will feel their presence, and it's their presence that will help us through our daily life too. When we have all the challenges, which we all do. Life is just a continuation of problem after problem, right? But it's not that it's all problems, it's that it's the presentation of the opportunity for what's the solution, what's the answer. And that answer isn't relying more on self-will, it's uniting and surrendering our self-will to the divine will, so that joy of God can dispel our doubt, can dispel the darkness, so that the love of God can heal any wounds that we have inwardly and between friends, and so that we can come into contact with that eternal presence that will bring us forever and forever back to our home in God. So God bless you.